Class Morris's family, his wife Anna, and his son Chance. In addition to his family, we would like to also say thank you and welcome to his close personal friends who have come here to join us on this occasion for him today. Today, the United States Army honors Justin Morris on the occasion of his retirement after more than 23 years of dedicated and faithful service to his state and country. Will you please rise for the national anthem? And the official party for today's ceremony is Colonel Kristen Zerda and Sergeant First Class Justin Morris. During the national anthem, saluting is not required as it is an indoor ceremony. Sergeant First Class Justin Morris joined the active Army in 1989 and served for over 7 years at Fort Eustis, Virginia as an 88-kilo watercraft operator. During that time, he deployed to the Panama Canal in support of the Gulf War from December of 90 to June of 91. Sergeant Morris came to the Washington Army National Guard right from active duty in 1994 to 1995. Where he was assigned to the 1161st as an 88 miner. Sergeant First Class Morris then returned to active duty and went back to Fort Eustis, Virginia from 1995 to 1998, where he served as an 88-kilo once again. After a small break in service, Sergeant Morris came back into the Washington Army National Guard and was assigned to the 1161st for 1 year before being transferred to the 1041st Transportation Company. In 2009, Sergeant First Class Morris joined recruiting, where he served as a GWAT recruiter and an AGR recruiter, his final assignment. In 2015, Sergeant First Class Morris married his wife Anna and has been supported by her and their children, Chance Morris and Emily McConkey. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce today's presiding official, Colonel Durden.
Distinguished guests, friends, family, thank you for joining us today as we honor Sergeant First Class Justin Morris and his family for his distinguished 23 years of military career. I want to recognize and give a special thanks to Anna, Sergeant First Class Morris's wife, and Chance, his son, for joining us today to celebrate his dedicated and faithful service to our state and nation. Unfortunately, his daughter Emily could not attend today, but she's with us in spirit. I also want to apologize that we didn't conduct this any sooner than today, but I do appreciate you guys taking time to attend and celebrate this monumental occasion. It's an honor to preside over Sergeant First Class Morris's retirement ceremony, and met him in 2009, maybe 10, when he officially joined the Recruiting Retention Battalion. I was his company commander. You see, prior to that though, I knew Sergeant Morris, because he was a legend. During the global war on terrorism, the National Guard had to figure out a way to grow the force to meet the deployment requirements. They created a variety of programs, one of which was the Guard Career Assistant Program, which is actually a foul word today. But Sergeant First Class Morris was the only person that I know that lived up to the expectations of that program and was a grassroots recruiter embedded in his community. As a traditional guardsman, he recruited more people in the National Guard than your average recruiter did. Of course, we had to bring him into the recruiting force. When I returned back to the recruiting battalion nearly a decade later, I was so delighted to see Sergeant Morris still here and an absolute rock star recruiter. Can't tell you how many times I use him as one of my examples of community-based recruiting. Recruiters are not successful unless they become absolutely connected to the community that they recruit in. That is exactly what Sergeant Morris did during his tenure in recruiting battalion. He participated in rodeos, he coached, and he was a substitute teacher at Moses Lake High School. He participated in the renowned OMAC Stampede. He volunteered countless hours for Boy Scouts and was heavily involved in the Job Corps. Because of all of these efforts, Sergeant Morris recruited over 125 soldiers into the Washington Army National Guard. He made dreams come true, brought opportunities to those that would have had them any other way, and he shaped and influenced the future of our force, bringing us future leaders. His service to this battalion, the state, and our nation was nothing less than spectacular. The Washington Army National Guard is stronger because of him. Thank you, Sergeant Morris, for the profound impact that you've had on this organization and for being a recruiting icon for our recruiting force. Now, Sergeant Morris wasn't always a recruiter, as much as that's hard for me to believe. He enlisted in the Army in 1989, as you previously heard, and served on active duty off and on for nearly 9 years as a watercraft operator, which is pretty cool. He joined the National Guard twice, once in 1993, and then decided he wanted to come back in 1999. And he served as a vehicle operator in truck companies in Ephrata and Spokane. And he supported a state wildfire mission. It's those experiences that made him so successful throughout his career. Sergeant Morris is a dedicated, hardworking, compassionate leader who looks out for the welfare of his soldiers and puts the mission first. He is a trusted leader and is loyal to this organization. In fact, he is still out recruiting for the Washington Army National Guard, even after he retired in May. Sergeant Morris, on behalf of the Adjutant General and the Commanding General, thank you for your 23 years of service. Those of us that have worked with you feel fortunate to serve with you. You are an amazing leader, soldier, recruiter, and friend, and I'm proud of you and all of your accomplishments. Sergeant Morris is successful because of his family, who have been incredibly supportive of him throughout his career, allowing him to make lasting impact on this organization. Anna and Chance, thank you for supporting your father and husband throughout his career. Your sacrifices allowed him to answer our state and country's call without worry and enabled him to meet every mission with success. Sergeant Morris, I wish you and your family the best in your retirement. I hope you have been making the most of your weekends that you gained back and enjoying your family time. Let's give Sergeant Morris and his family a round of applause for their commitment, sacrifice, and unwavering service to our state and nation. Sergeant Morris, you will be missed, but know that you've made a significant impact in our organization, and we are a better state and nation because of your service. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for First Class Morris. Attention to orders. This is to certify that the Commanding General for the Washington Army National Guard, authorized by Permanent Order Number 225-039, has awarded the Meritorious Service Medal to Sergeant First Class Justin Morris for exceptionally meritorious service to the United States and the state of Washington with an outstanding achievement and devotion to duty. Your military career positively influenced and enhanced the Washington Army National Guard's mission and well-being. Sergeant First Class Morris's outstanding performance is in keeping with the finest traditions of military service and reflects great credit upon himself, the Washington Army National Guard, and the United States Army. Signed by Brigadier General Daniel H. Dent, Commanding. Washington Army National Guard, Legion of Merit. At this time, Colonel Durda will present the State of Washington Legion of Merit to Sergeant First Class Morris. This is to certify that the Governor of the State of Washington has awarded the Washington National Guard Legion of Merit to Sergeant First Class Justin Morris for meritorious service while serving in the Washington Army National Guard, accumulating as a recruiting and retention non-commissioned officer for Alpha Company Recruiting and Retention Battalion. Sergeant First Class Morris's unconditional commitment and unwavering devotion to soldiers and family was truly the hallmark of a non-commissioned officer. Sergeant First Class Morris's service brings great credit upon himself, the Recruiting and Retention Battalion, and the Washington Army National Guard. Signed by Brigadier General Daniel H. Dent, Commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, I would like to invite Sergeant First Class Morris, his wife Anna, and Chance to come forward to the stage for recognition of their contributions and support to Sergeant First Class Morris. Sergeant First Class Morris will now present the Commander's Award for Guardsman support to each member of his family. The citation reads, the Military Department of the State of Washington. This is to certify that the Governor of the State of Washington has awarded the Washington National Guard Commander's Award for Guardsman support to Anna Morris and Chance Morris in sincere, grateful appreciation for your enduring loyalty and faithfulness, which enabled Sergeant First Class Morris to provide exceptional service to the state and the nation. Sergeant First Class Morris's service was instrumental in ensuring you and your family inherited a stronger nation and a safer world. During these years, you provided unwavering and unconditional support. Your selfless dedication and sacrifices reflect great credit upon you, the Washington Army National Guard. Signed, Daniel H. Dent, Brigadier General, Washington Army National Guard, Commanding. We will now present a certificate of appreciation to Anna Morris. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Mrs. Anna Morris, on the occasion of a retirement of your spouse from the United States Army, has earned grateful appreciation for your own unselfish, faithful, and devoted service. Your unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible your spouse's lasting contribution to the nation. Signed, General Mark A. Miley, United States Army, Chief of Staff. We will now present a certificate of appreciation for service in the Army of the Armed Forces of the United States. Sergeant First Class Justin W. Morris, I extend to you my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution of honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. I trust that in the coming years you will maintain an active interest in our armed forces and the purpose for which you serve. Those who follow in your footsteps will draw inspiration from your commitment, dedication, and sacrifices made to ensure the protection of our American freedoms. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Donald J. Trump, Commander-in-Chief. We will now present the National Guard Bureau Certificate of Service. National Guard Bureau Certificate of Service, awarded to Sergeant First Class Justin W. Morris in recognition of 23 years of service in the Armed Forces of the United States, including 17 years of service in the Army National Guard, dated 14 July 2020. Signed, General Joseph L. Lingle, Chief, National Guard Bureau. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as Colonel Durbin retires Sergeant First Class Morris. Attention to orders. Office of the Adjutant General, Camp Murray, Washington. Dated 31 May 2020, Sergeant First Class Justin W. Morris, Recruiting and Retention Battalion. You are retired from active duty, released from assignment and duty, and on 1 June 2020, placed on the retired list. The people of the United States express their thanks and gratitude for your faithful service. Your contributions to the defense of the United States of America are greatly appreciated. Signed, Christopher A. Blanco, Lieutenant Colonel, Washington Army National Guard, Adjutant. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Justin W. Morris, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Army on the first day of June 2020. Signed, Mark A. Miley, General, Chief of Staff of the Army. Every retiree receives a special retirement pin as a memento of their active duty service. At this time, I'd like to ask Anna to come up and place this pin on her husband's collar to symbolize the transition from active to retired status. Thank you, Anna. We will now present Sergeant First Class Retired Justin Morris with a commemorative flag. Dear Sergeant First Class Morris, this commemorative flag is presented to you in recognition of your honorable and faithful service to our state and nation. As a member of the Washington Army National Guard, the dedication, loyalty, selfless service you rendered as a guardsman to protect the lives and property of our fellow citizens of the state of Washington, and as a soldier and guardian to protect our freedom and the way of life, did not go unnoticed or unappreciated. May the flag that is being presented to you always be displayed proudly as it is a symbol of every high ideal and American way of life. The sacrifices you and your family made during your military service are embodied in the very fabric of the American flag that we embrace and guard with our lives. The red in our flag is made more brilliant by the heroism and sacrifices of our nation's defenders. The white, more stainless and pure by the actions of the Americans to provide freedom and equality. And the blue in the starry field is made more beautiful by the loyalty and unit of our people to pursue the principles of liberty and justice for all. Thank you for your service. We wish you well in your future endeavors. Sincerely, Daniel H. Dent, Brigadier General, Washington Army National Guard, Commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Sergeant Morris, retired, to the podium, and you can give final remarks. You may be seated.
Well, the first 10 years was really good. It had nothing to do with people, it had everything to do with the policies and everything. And we were just slamming it in there for a while. And things just got a little harder. I think it was because people forgot what 9/11 was all about, and their focus kind of changed. But as far as recruiting, that was always an adventure. I could never see myself on assembly line doing the same thing exactly every day. That's what recruiting gave me, is a sense of something always was going to pop up different. It was never the same. And but for me, recruiting was a real family. There was a lot of you were here when Kathy passed away, and there was a lot of support. And then when I married Anna, there was a lot of. She was really intimidated by all the pursuits, but she soon found out that you're just people too, just like she is. And so, as far as Colonel Durda goes, I remember the first time I met her as my commander, I had mentioned, hey, I understand we're going to be recruited for the Air Guard. And she goes, oh, hold on about that. Let's find out all the specifics. I was going to get banners, and set up. But I was one of those guys that didn't ask Marty for anything. I just made my own. And then asked for forgiveness if it wasn't right later. But she goes, no, don't be making no banners up yet. So, but I was an E5, she was a captain, and she went away, came back. I was an E6, she was a major. She went away and came back. I was an E7, she was a colonel, a light colonel. And now I told her, so you're coming general. You're just moving up there real fast. And so, there was a lot of really cool times. I could mention some times that we probably scrape off some wounds, but it was everything was an adventure with recruiting. And I'm going to tell you that it was all worth staying in. I remember Sergeant Bones called me up from CMS and asked about what it was like. And it was like, well, it's an adventure. I mean, there's always something new that's going to come up. And you're not always going to like it, but you got to look for that. And he was traveling from Spokane to over to Breda and being a geologist, being a bachelor basically. And I'm glad he's still with it. I tried to get Sergeant Graves to come and recruit a long time ago, and he just kept avoiding it until they kicked him into it. So, there's I met Sergeant Weissock when he was an E5 and I was a corporal. I just started. And so it's I met Sergeant Gady. I was a corporal. I can tell you this story real quick. We were down in Yakima. I just came in as a G-Walk recruiter. I walked into the room and RSP called the attention and said, oh, that's just Corporal Morris. And he heard that. He came into the room and smoked everybody. He said, an NCO is an NCO. And I'll never forget that. And so when First Sergeant Cox had asked me to come into recruiting, I was like, I got really excited about that because I was going to be able to get to work with him again. And so, Sergeant Stesky, we were in 1041st together, came into recruiting together. And one of my favorite stories was when we went down to Camp Guernsey, and that was one of the worst. They had one of the worst firing ranges ever. I mean, you could throw a rock at the thing and it'd drop, but it wouldn't count, the pop-up targets. And I loaded, the second time I went through, I loaded my magazine with 60 rounds and got 15. I'd never done that bad. And, with recruiting, just stick with it. It's got its ups and downs. I mean, Sergeant Angeli, I met him when he came into recruiting. He enlisted one person, but he had 100% ship rate that year. And I told him that, he was like, still got it. But I'm number 2 in the state now. And so there's just a time and season is what it is. And I was just too stubborn to leave when it got rough and come back when it got better. I just stuck with it because I just knew that there was a silver lining, and I'm reaping that benefit. Now I'm back in recruiting. I never, ever wanted anything to do with putting people into anything ever again. And when I work for SkillSource now, and I have a quota of 80 people to put through, well, the office does actually, put through our different programs. And I'm like, this is a recruiting job all over again. And I'd already been hired by the time I figured this out. And so, but when Colonel Durden said I'm still recruiting, I am, because when people come into my office to see if they will qualify for our program, I always pull Sergeant Gady's card out and make sure, and I have to find out whether they're legally able to go through our program, if they're medically able to, certain programs. Some, you could have one leg and qualify. I'm consciously always apple and leading these people because I know what the Guard offers and what it gives. I mean, as a chance you can serve in your hometown, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but it paid for all my education. I ended up getting my bachelor's degree about 2 months, finished it 2 months before I went on terminal leave, and it really opened up a lot of opportunities. And my tuition assistance paid for all of it. And I transferred my GI Bill to my daughter, which now she goes to Corbin University right now on that. And so it's, the education, but the chance is enough for anybody to join. If you can't get them to think of service, community service, that's it right there. But I always tell them about my experience. And some qualify, some don't. I did continue my service with the State National Guard, or State Guard. I just got approved to join with them after everything had came through. It's funny, in NATLAC will really screw up things. Because they said when they pulled my record, that it said CID, check with CID, and he's like, what did you do? You just retired. What did you go out and get a felony or something? So, but I was just approved to join there, and they're going to start a State Guard unit here. And because I have enough time as an E7, they'll make me an E8, which is pretty cool. So I get to move on to First Sergeant. And it doesn't really count unless you get deployed. And my First Sergeant just came back and he got EA paid for being away a month. He tried to stay another month and his job said, nah, you got to come back to work. So, but this has been a really good time, and I really appreciate so many people showing up. I just figured it was going to be, Sergeant Studsky and Colonel Durden, maybe my family. So many people. This is pretty amazing, especially during this time. And I could tell stories about every one of you that I know, but there's not enough time. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate that.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of the Army Song.
First to fly for
ceremony. On behalf of Sergeant First Class Morris and his family, I would like to thank you for your participation in today's ceremony.